Okay. All right. It is Friday, August 25th, 2023 at 6:23 p.m. Central Time. Unfortunately, I was doing some stuff around the house and I just completely lost track of time. So we're here now, though, and we're going to do a little bit of talking about the upcoming lore video chapter, which will cover inoculating the Settlers Foundation. I think I'm actually going to end up adding another chapter to the overall series there. Now, then, along with that, I've just got some stuff to say about some things I heard about the upcoming Elder Scrolls 6 as well. And also, I've been seeing great stuff about Starfield. Nothing actually spoilerish or anything like that, just like general concepts about it and things like that. Things that people have been saying about it. Excellent news about all that. Okay, so the upcoming video will. So initially, and even now, I'm still kind of confused on exactly how much I want to cover with this episode. It will be coming out on Monday. But the thing about it is, I've got basically the script done either way. The question is if I cut a chunk of it off and make it a second video or not. And again, I'm still not entirely sure. Okay, so basically, the next chunk of the series on the Settlers of Foundation covers inoculating the Settlers of Foundation, and then along with that, knowing what it is that's in Vault 79. And the thing about it is, like, basically, as soon as those two things are out the door, then we get right into the heist planning for Vault 79. And so at that point, everything is very thematically connected, one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And the truth of the matter is, like, there's minor connection between the inoculation and getting into Vault 79, mostly in that you're dealing with the overseer of Vault 76 the entire time. So I'm trying to figure out if I should connect those two, and in that way, basically kind of get like the the foundation work out of the way for the Settlers Foundation video series. Or if I should cover them individually, because I feel like individually they are stronger than they are together. Again, so it's like either get the foundational work done in a single chunk or do them individually. And I'm still not entirely certain on that, so I'm going to look into it and figure out exactly what I want to do there. But regardless, the next one's absolutely going to cover the trip here to the Kanala Nuka-Cola plant, which it's a fascinating facility when you really consider what you're able to do here. Because there's a laboratory here that's been here since the game launched, where they were making new varieties of Nuka-Cola and making it Nuka-Cola with different chemicals in it and stuff like that. Why don't we just go ahead and take a look at it? It's been a little while since I've read the specific chemicals. One of the chemicals I do remember them trying to use instead of coffee was dextromethamphetamine, but let's go see what else there was. I always do kind of wonder who set the turret up. Shooting. Well, I'm not sure where that Scorched is. Or Farragould. Let's go in here. The thing is, already I had gotten. Folks in the Discord know that I'd gotten like 7/8 of the work done on the original massive video. Welcome to Great Disappointment. I'm glad you like the lore videos. So I had basically gotten a big chunk of the actual narrative work done on the video. So what I've ended up doing is going into slightly like more detail, revising the things a few more times for these individual episodes, so that I think they're actually better on their own than they would have been together as that large chunk. Of course, in the end, I will put them all together again. But okay, here we are. Manufacturing control. I think that's no product research. That's the one we're looking for here. Here we go. Okay, I love this stuff. Sea Lion. Nuka-Cola Quantum, they want to replace Strontium 85 with Strontium 90 because the synthesis is too costly. Walrus, which is Nuka-Cola Black. I think there's a typo in here. Maybe they fixed it at some point where you get the same product code. In fact, yeah, I think it's product code that's the same in between at least a couple of them. Anyway, Walrus. Nuka-Cola Black. Replacement for the coffee base with dextromethamphetamine. Fur Seal. Nuka-Cola Orange uses pear brandy as a flavor base, cut the intense aftertaste with arsenic. Angry Beaver, Nuka-Cola Quartz, add non-soluble sugar to simulate quartz and see if that counteracts the cavitation issues from previous versions. So cavitation here has an actual meaning when it comes to like physics and fluid flowing through a line. That's not what they're talking about here, though. What they're talking about here is that the sugar was so intense in Nuka-Cola Quartz that it was actually rotting everyone's teeth out that were managing to drink it. So they're talking about adding some insoluble sugar that would just float around in the solution, rather than getting Nuka-Cola Quartz to basically just be syrup in a bottle. Let's see. Yeah, so this marketing control stuff, this is what goes into the actual business here of making the inoculation. And so the lab here is crazy. The fact that you're able to extract a sample from yourself and then basically identify the antibodies and then synthesize them and produce a brand new soda that is itself a medication. Like, this is a crazy laboratory here. Now, the nice thing is that there already was a laboratory here that does seem to have been directly involved in actually interacting with the manufacturing equipment here in the plant. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they would be able to do something like that. Now, whether or not, again, being able to do something that specific and extreme in terms of the level of biological science involved, I don't know. But, I mean, apparently that's what they were able to do, so. Just, I can't imagine the circumstance where it's like, I want the lab set up so that we can take someone's blood and put it into a soda. Mass produce it. Okay. So, again, the next chunk after this, but again, so I also put into the story of basically how the responders dealt with the Scorched Plague, because I think that's an important part of the overall story of the Scorched Plague, because everyone had a problem with the Scorched Plague, but the responders were the group that were actually trying to do something about the plague itself. Like, the Free States were basically monitoring the Scorched after they turned from the radiation signatures they created. The Raiders of the Savage Divide basically were just trying to battle them as much as they could, which did not go well. Same thing with the Brotherhood of Steel. The Brotherhood of Steel was trying to do some scientific work related to the Scorched, but more so to the Scorched beasts, studying their DNA, looking for weaknesses. But it was the responders themselves who were actually dealing with the Scorched Plague and had gotten basically 99% of the way done with producing an inoculation. And specifically, that was Dr. Claire Hudson, working initially at the quarantine zone at the Morgantown airport, and then finally at the basement of AVR Medical, where she got so close to producing a Scorched Plague inoculation. Now, the problem, I think, is that even if she had succeeded, she started on that project in July of 2096. The responders were defeated by November of 2096. So we're talking, like, what is that, 4 months, 5 months total that we're looking at there, where if she had managed to finish it on day one, I don't think that there was enough time left for the responders to save themselves. Too many other organizations were already dead. If they'd managed to do this a year before, if they'd taken the warning of the Free States and the Brotherhood of Steel seriously, then maybe they could have had that thing done in, I don't even know, late 80s, early 2090s, and at that point there could have been a preservation of the society after the bombs, but unfortunately that was not the case. So, anyway though, that's the kind of stuff I'm going to talk about there. Now, when it comes to the actual contents of Vault 79, basically the script I originally had on that was a couple of paragraphs long. And so let's try to go into like length here. So in terms of the length of the first video, I think it's close to 2,000 words, the script. And that's where I end up with a video that's 12 minutes long, whatever the length it is, which I thought was a reasonable length. Now, the script for specifically the stuff covering the inoculation, I've got that to about 1,800 words, but there's still more information I could put in there, specifically the origins of the Scorched Plague, not just how the responders dealt with it, but I mean, this story of the Scorched Plague also does also include the fact that the Enclave were the original creators of it. Which, God, what are the odds of all that? Where you got this secret government lab working with bats that managed to spread a disease, and this story comes out 2 years before COVID. It's just crazy. Appalachia could have been more. Yeah, Appalachia absolutely could have been more powerful than the NCR. And I still have like I still have this absolutely crazy mindset on this thing, which I don't think is the case going forward after the arrival of things like the Blue Ridge Caravan, where it's like how great would it be if you had the Raiders of Appalachia become basically the military, the settlers of Appalachia become the industrial base of this nation, and then they use the automation, the ultrasight, all that stuff, and create a brand new like empire. And you could even do crazy stuff with like the whole like post-apocalyptic empires and kingdoms and stuff like that. Have it so that there's like just great inequality and that the people at the top of the society are ridiculously wealthy while the people at the bottom are struggling to survive because not only because it's not like they even have to work, they have robots to do all the work. They can't find people to do the work. They can't find a need for all these people and stuff like that. Yeah, God bless America and God bless the Enclave. So again, I think what I'm going to probably end up doing is splitting it into two videos because the truth of the matter is that the treasure of Vault 79 has a greater story than I was going to initially tell with it. And so again, I'm still struggling though because I also don't want to make a video that's only like 5 minutes long. I don't know exactly how much I've got on the on Vault 79 because I've told the story of it to a minor extent. During my video on Berkeley Springs. So here's what I'm going to end up doing, and it'll be obvious on Monday which way I've decided to go. I'm going to write the entirety of the story for both of the inoculation and the in Vault 79. Talk about Shanghai Sally and stuff like that with Vault 79. See how long these things come out to, and whichever way seems most appropriate. If the new video I'm going to make is only like 18 minutes long, I'll say, okay, you know what? We're just going to combine the two. We'll have it be a single story. At the end of it, we'll be ready to go into finding the mother lode. But if it turns out the point where it's going to be like, okay, these are together are going to be like 24 minutes long, then I will cut it in half. I'll have each one of those stories be its own separate video. So that's how I'm going to go on that. All right. Well, if you have any more questions on that, let me know. But other than that, I kind of wanted to talk about upcoming stuff with Starfield and with Elder Scrolls 6 because I've seen a minor bit of news on that. And it got me thinking about a thought I was having a while back here. How would you feel about the next... Yeah, but part of the thing... So... Speaking of Louisiana as potentially being a spot for another Fallout game, that was actually partially what I was thinking about when I was thinking about this concept of an Appalachian, technologically advanced, post-apocalyptic Appalachian empire that spreads southwest from Appalachia to basically conquer like the deep south to where they're taking control of territory that was not terribly important militarily speaking, so probably wasn't struck that badly by nuclear weapons. And so you have this empire that's growing the entire time, you know, down through Kentucky and Tennessee and Mississippi and Alabama and over towards Louisiana. And you could set the game like 215, 220 years after the bombs. So in the same time period where we're talking about Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4. And it could be that that's the point where the Appalachian Empire is getting ready to start annexing Louisiana. And so you're in Louisiana as a local, and you have to make the decision: do I support this encroaching empire? Do I help my like one of the local factions to try to maintain control of this territory and stuff like that? I think that you could have a very interesting story with Louisiana, especially with things like some sort of giant radioactive crocodiles, or not crocodiles, alligators. Obviously, they've already got blood bugs, so you got that down for the mosquitoes. And just deal with the swamps and stuff like that, the history of Louisiana and stuff like that. I think it could be very interesting, especially if you had some sort of like Cajun faction or something like that. Anyway, though, so in terms of the Starfield news, everything I've been seeing is good. I've not seen any specific spoilers for the game, or at least nothing that I would consider a specific spoiler for the game. Just things like them saying that it's like a 180-hour game. Another thing saying that like the game doesn't even get going until after you beat the main game. The fact that there's a new game plus worries me a little bit, honestly, because, and it's not even because it's necessarily a bad thing that there's a new game plus option. It's just that sounds so different from anything I've seen in any previous Bethesda game. I mean, the closest you get with it is like Fallout 3, where there was a definitive end to the game. where you are going in and you're dying, or Fox is going in and not dying, or Sarah Lyons is going into the purifier and dying. And there was like a definitive end to the game until they added Broken Steel. That's the closest time we've gotten to that sort of thing recently in a Bethesda game. So the fact that there is a new game plus makes me think, how different is this from normal Bethesda titles? So I don't know. We'll see exactly what's involved with this new game plus option. One of the things that's most excited me about it is that I've been seeing that they're saying that modding in Starfield will include the ability to make your own planets, which, I mean, the level of customization, the number of mods that's going to open up to making. Like, can you imagine the number of people out there that's just going to be like, okay, Tatooine right there, you know, or just putting in planets from Mass Effect and Star Wars and Star Trek and all kinds of great space fiction and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to seeing exactly what comes of that. I'm so looking forward to Starfield. I am very, very disappointed I didn't end up getting a code to review the game beforehand, but it is what it is. It's given me more time to work on this series of lore videos, and so when the time comes, I'll be ready to work on that. Now, in terms of Elder Scrolls 6, because now that Starfield's finally coming out, it's looking like that's the next game. 1 second here. Oh, it's getting a little dry there. Okay. So, I saw something from an interview, and you can never tell whether or not these things people say, especially because I didn't read the article, I read the headline, which is not the way you should consume news, by the way. Because there's a good, I don't even know how much of it is, I'm making up a statistic here, 20% of the time that the article's headline in no way matches the content of the story. And is basically just the author's extrapolation and what they think it could mean. But basically what I saw was Todd Howard saying, a quote, or like not even a quote, but an article stating that Todd Howard was saying that Elder Scrolls 6, his goal with it was to make like the immersive fantasy sim, which so the thing about that is they've kind of actually had stuff like that already in the game. I think that's entirely what the whole, what's it called? Radiant AI system is, to where you're creating a world where people are living in the world. You know, they're not just computer files. Obviously they are, but they don't have the same appearance as just an NPC standing there in game. They have homes, they have lives, they have families, all that stuff. My hope is that they've dramatically expanded the Radiant AI system, both for Starfield and for Bethesda games beyond. And so, again, I think that's potentially what they could be talking about here, with it being the ultimate fantasy sim. Again, this is all assuming that he said anything like this in the first place, and it wasn't just somebody extrapolating from his basic statement to something much more grand. But if this is something that he said, it does remind me of a thought that I had recently when I was hearing more and more about basically people integrating the interactive AI into games. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is the AI where you can actually talk to the characters. It takes your speech, takes it to, you know, like a separate program where it translates that to text, which then sends it to a text, like a chat GPT sort of a thing, where it then generates a response in the form that would be appropriate for the game that we're talking about here. So like the very specific version of this I've seen is like somebody talking to like a 13th century monk, and the guy speaks as though he is a monk living, you know, in a religious society somewhere in the woods. And then it comes back to you. So we're talking about interactive AI for games. Well, I was thinking about how amazing this could end up being with things like Skyrim and stuff like that, where if you could effectively make the world, if you made it into nothing but a giant fantasy sim, you could do stuff like, hey, I want you to join my military force here, and then just start building a following of people and be like, all right, I want you to go set up a camp in the woods outside of Riften. We're going to start cutting down trees, building our own farms. If we're given trouble by the local gangsters, we'll kill them. You know, just stuff like that. Actually having people follow your words on this stuff. And then even going to the point of like designing siege engines in the game that you then use to launch warfare against enemy cities and stuff like that. That's obviously a bit further, I think, than anything that we're talking about with what you could do with this fantasy sim, especially within like the next 5 years or so, but we'll see. about the new TV show. Oh, that's not good. New key art for the Fallout TV show was made by AI and has tons of errors. That's not good. I have heard of some studios using AI for that kind of stuff, just to cut some corners, especially right now while there's a bunch of strikes going on and ending up with a bunch of errors. And that's the simple truth of the matter is, like, I think AI is a tool, and it's a valuable tool, but it's not something that, at least in the next 5 to 10 years, will probably end up replacing professionals. And I'm not saying it's not going to replace jobs in the immediate term, because there are absolutely going to be companies that are like, all right, it's good enough, do it. But if we're talking about something where you're trying to produce something with some actual quality on it, then AI can be a tool to help you generate ideas. But if you're going to really put something out there, then you're going to have to make sure that this is something that is done by a person that knows what the hell they're talking about. And so, no, I've not seen that specific art, but it would not surprise me if they did do something like that, and if errors were involved in the process. Because, I mean, that kind of stuff's going to happen. So, I don't know. We'll see exactly what happens with that kind of stuff. I don't know what to think about the Fallout TV show. I'm both excited and worried about it. Just with all the bad content I've seen lately coming out of established IP, I worry with what they're going to end up doing with it. And I also am not entirely thrilled by the fact that they set it in LA. That's what I've seen, is that this thing that it's set in Vault 33 in LA. Which, like, we've seen LA before in games, so I mean, it would have been kind of neat if they'd set this somewhere that we'd never seen before. At the same time, then, I don't know, the fact that they have established lore to connect it to in that area probably is a good thing, because unless they don't care about it. Because I don't know how many of y'all were paying attention when they did the Halo show on the Paramount Network, but there's this thing that came out where they're like, oh yeah, none of the showrunners had ever played the game. It's like, what? Why were you making a show then? Like, what were you doing making a show in the Halo universe, never having played the games? Yeah, I don't want them disrupting the East Coast. Well, and so it's one of those things where, like, why they could have said it, I don't know. They could have said it just about anywhere, because the only places we've really seen are a good chunk of California. We've seen part of Nevada, and then we've seen DC, Maryland, like the DC Metroplex, and then Boston, and now a chunk of Appalachia here with 76. So the state of West Virginia, but almost everything else is completely open. We haven't seen anything there before. So if they did do something there, there would be many fewer ties that they would have to worry about violating in creating content. We've seen a little bit of Utah and wherever a big mountain is, we've seen that as well. So I don't know. We'll see. Again, I'm excited about the fact that video games are becoming more culturally relevant over time. The fear that I have is that there seem to be so many showrunners and writers in Hollywood that don't give a crap about the content of the show. They've just been given a show to write about, and then they don't really know what to say about it, or they don't respect the property, and they don't really even want to do it. It's just something where it's like, okay, this is the only job I could get right now, so I guess I'll write something about this, whether it be the Lord of the Rings or, again, Halo or what have you. It's just worrying, to say the least, especially because, like, I've loved the Fallout series ever since I really was introduced to it back in 2008 when they were getting ready to launch Fallout 3, and so I started investigating the older titles that were available at the time. And I really fell in love with the aesthetic of the world and all that stuff, and I fear what happens if we have back-to-back, we have Fallout 76, which, like, I enjoy Fallout 76. I think the world they've created here is great, but there's no doubt at all that there was a big cultural backlash to Fallout 76, both in terms of it being multiplayer, the lack of NPCs, which again I celebrate because I think that it was a great way to start the game out, especially just like because it's like you are the savior of the world. There's nobody else there to fix it for you. I think that was all great, but there was like this big backlash within the Fallout community. Now I think a lot of that has been fixed over time, but at the same time, there's still a massive chunk of the Fallout fan base that's still like pretends 76 doesn't exist or pretends that it's not part of the lore. So if you have that back to back then with a television show on the Fallout universe that's just crap, I just worry about what that would end up doing to the Fallout fan base and the future of the Fallout universe in general. Because, like, it's been 8 years now since, and not even 8 years, 7 years, 8 years this November since we've gotten a mainline Fallout game. And again, as much as I enjoy Fallout 76, it's clearly not for everybody. I think that the story, the lore here in the world is all great, but it's seriously worrying if the television show comes out and it's not good. So, I don't know. Yeah. Mufka. Make Fallout great again. So, and my view on Fallout 76 at this point is that I'm definitely still on board to see where we go with this in the future. I'm currently slightly worried about the game because we've gotten so little mainline lore with it lately. Like the things that we've had added were Nuka World on Parade and an expansion to the Blue Ridge Caravan Company lore, which, like, it's great. I want to see more about all the lore, but I want something more meaty. Like, the last great chunks of lore I think we got were the arrival of the Brotherhood of Steel Expeditionary Force. Like, that was huge. That was a massive expansion to the lore there. Yeah, there is a real theme park there that this is based on. It's Camden Park in Huntington, West Virginia. Which is also, by the way, near the Canova Pumpkin House. More Fallout's always a good thing. The Fallout fans happy. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just worry about. It's the same thing that where for a long time there I was worried about the Elder Scrolls universe because we got Skyrim, and it's now been 12 years since we've gotten a mainline game in the Fallout in the Elder Scrolls universe, and then we got ESO. And ESO, I don't know. I have no idea how ESO is doing in terms of finances for Bethesda. I have to assume it's doing really well because I see them putting out yearly expansions to this thing or semi-yearly. I don't know exactly how often this comes out, but I have been seeing them put out a ton of content for that. I have not seen them, and again, they are improving 76 in terms of the content stream. I will definitely say that because we're getting more now than we were getting a year ago. But at the same time, I want to see more content coming for 76. And the truth is they could do so much with this setting. There's already so many storylines still left to explore here. Beyond that, and we've talked about this before, they could easily do things where they set up expeditions to neighboring areas, or they could even open up neighboring areas for additional content. Allow you to travel across the bridge in Point Pleasant to go into Ohio and explore some of the territory in Ohio. Head southwest and go into Kentucky. Explore some of the mountains of Kentucky. And you could even go into Virginia. I'm always hopeful that we're going to at some point be able to go to Mount Weather down in Virginia. And I think an expedition over to DC would be great. We're going to see the content with that they add where we go to Atlantic City. I'm looking forward to all this stuff. I want to see more of it. I want to see it come more often. I'll just say that. Because it has been remarkable how relatively easy it's been to basically catch up on lore videos to where I am down to the last handful left to make on Fallout 76 before I effectively run out of of content to really create lore videos on, because I can create another lore video on things like I could potentially create one for things like Nuka World on Parade and the expansion to the Blue Ridge Caravan content. But I mean, unless they add more things to, like, it's like, oh, look at this, it's Modus's, the next line in Modus's story, then then I'll have more to add, But until that point, like, I've got the Settlers of Foundation to finish out. What's the other stuff even left at this point? I've got a list of potential videos here. Let me see if I can't find this real quick. And the Settlers of Foundation are the last faction that I have really yet to cover. The Responders have added a little bit. So there, nope, that's Where is it? It's probably in here. Yes. Okay. Let's see. I still need to reproduce a few of my old lore videos on Point Pleasant, Charleston, Beckley, Welch, and Bramwell, which, by the way, is what I've learned is the proper pronunciation of what I thought was Bromwell. I got some messages from a local from Bromwell, West Virginia. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced. Once I finish the Settlers of Foundation, that's it in terms of organizations. Other than, again, the Responders covering the little bit that they've added, the Blue Ridge Caravan covering the bit that's been added there, the Nuka World on Parade. I'm running out of content to create lore videos on in Fallout 76, which is not necessarily the end of the world because there's always other games to go on to. I'm already making videos on Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, but it's been uncomfortably easy to catch up with the videos to put out. I'll just say that on 76. I feel like if I was somebody who's creating lore videos on Elder Scrolls Online, I would have much more trouble catching up to where they are in terms of content they've been adding. Because they keep adding new provinces, new events, all kinds of stuff. Where, like, the latest stuff that they've put out here for 76, I feel like both of these past 2 seasons have just been like, hey, it's the same events again, but with a new scoreboard. So... So there's a new scoreboard here, obviously. This is not typically something I do. I don't... I'm sure that there are people out there that have a lot of fun in completing that sort of thing. It's just... And I've said this before, I got my dailies in back in World of Warcraft. Let's see, personally I think Fallout 5 will be in New York City. Enclave would have a moon base. That'd be pretty cool. I've heard of people talking about the Sea of Tranquility. The Battle of the Sea of Tranquility. I think that'd be pretty interesting if they did have something like that. And New York City absolutely makes sense as a location for Fallout 5 to take place because Fallout 3 was in DC, Fallout 4 was in Boston, Fallout 5 would be somewhere in the middle about New York City. Plus, if we look at things like Skyrim where they needed the tech to make dragons work in game, I would say that they really did need the tech to make dense urban areas, which they could get in this time since the release of Fallout 4. So I would hope that would be the case. So I built my channel around 76 because everything I was seeing about 76 online was negative. Like everything from all the creators that I typically followed. It was really disappointing because I'd played the game and I kept finding all these little stories were like, that's great. That was really interesting little bits of information. But the thing of Fallout 76 is that they didn't spoon feed you the stories. You actually had to go out there like an archaeologist, hunt through the ruins of stuff and put it all together. And that's what I really enjoyed doing. And so that's when I started creating videos on things like the Dire Chemical Massacre. One of my first big videos actually was covering Darius Engler and the creation of the Toxic Valley because like nobody was talking about that. The fact that this entire area here was created by effectively 2 people. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like you head in here and you find all these... It's like it's nothing that they even discuss when you're going through any of the quests. But you just find these journal entries, these holotapes, and suddenly you discover this area was created by basically a mad scientist who was just utterly pissed off at Grafton Steel. To the point where he created this additive that ruined their mill. And then what I didn't realize at the time because I was too focused on Darius Engler, but that Arthur Wood, the owner of Grafton Steel, was just like, it's screwing up the environment. You know what? It was these damn workers who created this problem. They can live in this. And it's like, oh, okay. So it's a combination of the 2 of them that effectively ruined the Toxic Valley. But again, nobody was talking about that because I don't think anybody had gone into it and looked into it and seen it. And so I really liked bringing these stories to people that had never seen this stuff before because Fallout 76 absolutely has story to it. There were so many people that were like, oh, there's nothing to that. It's like, no, there's an enormous amount of story to 76. The simple fact of the matter, though, is that the organizations that it belongs to are dead, and you have to go out there and find the story yourself. Some of it's given to you in the course of the main quest, but a lot of it is stuff that you have to figure out on your own, and I figured I could put that stuff together and bring it to people. Yeah, the creation of the mire caused by the explosion of the Gek in Vault 94. It's a very good point. Very good point of the story being built out here. I do think that it's kind of a funny little thing where they're like, oh yeah, the The lake used to be higher, but it leaked because the dam cracked. One second. But yeah, the way that Boy Scout camp on the other side of the lake, the way that that's right at the water level, that's because the land then, fell. It's like, because otherwise, when the water drained away, it would not be right up against the Boy Scout camp. But then the Boy Scout camp also dropped down. Rolling Rock. I'm not sure what you mean there. Oh, all Fallout 76 Year 1 is a ghost town gunfight. Yeah. Year 1 Fallout 76, I don't think that a lot of people that joined the game later have really any concept for what that felt like. It was a crazy feeling to it because and there's so much of it that's just gone. And I will say entirely, oh, yeah, no, this is Topo Chico. It's mineral water, bottled it down in Mexico. Very good. I buy cases of it at Costco. But yeah, Fallout Year 1 was an amazing experience. Fallout 76 Year 1 was an amazing experience because there were NPCs, but they were all robots. So we're talking about like the mayor of Grafton, Modus. And then they started adding additional robotic NPCs in like Bevy Ridge down in Morgantown. But like, it felt like the wasteland. You were not walking around finding scavengers picking through stuff. You were the only humans out there. And I honestly kind of miss that at times. Because it made you feel like so much more consequential of being. It's like, there's like 1,000 of us out here. Other than that, there's nobody. I mean, not even feral ghouls, because not even ghouls, because they had all migrated already to Underworld. If you didn't know that story, why don't we go take a look at one of the notes they left behind? The ghouls here in Appalachia all migrated out of the area and headed to Underworld in Fallout 3. God, 2020 was such a crazy year. I never got time off, and I know time off is saying could be insensitive to people out there that lost their jobs. But I work in what's considered to be an essential industry because I design water and fuel and lube trucks for construction, mining purposes, also pipeline construction, and that's what was in my case. Here in Texas, the pipelines and the oil business were considered essential, and those businesses that support the oil business were considered essential as well. So I never got any time off that a lot of people got with COVID, and I know that's, again, potentially an insensitive thing to say because a lot of people lost their jobs, and it was definitely not good for people's psychological health to be out like that. But I could definitely have used some time off during that time. Anyway, Ghouls Note 1. Mr. and Mrs. Braxton, my name is William Keller. I represent a group of brave men and women who you may wish to meet. In the years since our new lives began, many of us have begun to lose things we once took for granted. Our skin, our face, our old voice. And most painfully, each of us lived to see our friends and families die, and loved ones die around us. It's been 20 years. No one should have to suffer in loneliness and fear. You are not alone. And then Ghouls Note 2. If you're interested in meeting, a group of your neighbors have gathered to the east. We've been contacted by a larger community like ours living in the capital. Apparently the city was hit hard, but they say a society is beginning to grow there. We are considering joining them. William Keller. So, there's also a note like this up in Grafton. So effectively what happened, the ghouls are immune to the Scorched Plague, just like the super mutants are. For their own reason, though. So, while the ghouls living here in Appalachia watched as everybody around them died to the Scorched Plague or were murdered by the Scorched or by the Scorched Beasts, the ghouls were able to flee this community. And they were able to head east into D.C., where we know as of Fallout 3 there was the community of Underworld. Oh, man. Seriously, COVID time was... Man, I gotta tell you, I was very close to my father, and my father passed away in September of 2019, and so I was really mourning all the way into the birth of COVID, and so like I have not felt like my life has been normal since September of 2019. Like there has been 4 years where it just has not felt like it's just felt a bit surreal. Things have gotten more calm and more normal lately, but there's still part of me that feels like, you know, I haven't been the same since that time. So, yeah. Did they base a lot of characters on real life people? I'm not sure what you mean there. And I could be that you said something in response to something that I said that I don't even remember that I said. Let's go right over here. Okay, right here. Ghoul's Note. So we got another one here. Again, William Keller calling people off to Underworld. So, I mean, there's crazy amounts of story here in 76, even before the arrival of the Wastelanders. So much to tell. So, what else to say, though? Anybody have any additional questions about this stuff? Again, I'm still so looking forward to Starfield. I appreciate your comment there. Let's see. Is William Keller part of the... I'd see... Maybe? I'm not sure. I have not done enough investigation into that. I really should. Because, I mean, it's really... It would be very cool to make some sort of video talking about the link between these notes and Underworld itself. But again, that's why I started making content on 76, is because, like, all the time people were spending crapping on the game, I was just like, there's so much here you all aren't seeing. And, like, so... Not to call anybody out specifically on this stuff, because, like, I mean, people enjoy games for different reasons in different ways and all that stuff. But and part of this, okay, why don't I just say what I'm thinking, and then I'll get to my comments on, like, correcting myself here. I was watching Angry Joe, and he was doing a review on 76, and he was, like, playing with a couple other people, maybe 3 other people in a group. And he was, like, listening to holotapes. And don't get me wrong, Flatwoods is overloaded with holotapes. But the truth of the matter is it's because they're introducing you to the Responders organization there. And so, like, he wasn't even really listening to the holotapes. And I get it, because he was playing co-op with other people. But the truth of the matter is, like, if you're going to enjoy the story of the game, you got to not be going, like, go, 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 go. You got to stop. You got to listen to things. You got to read things. It's not all going to be action-packed when you're trying to uncover the story of a dead people. And again, that's if you're going to be playing the game co-op, then yeah, it's not going to work for you if you're trying to uncover things like that. The process of lore investigation is just it's not going to work when you're trying to be constantly on the move. Let's head down in here. But yeah, because, like, it's definitely the case that you've got all the Survivor Story holotapes. And then beyond that, there's, like, the holotapes where they're talking about proper food preparation and water sanitation and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's like, I respect the fact that if you're trying to play the game with a group of people and you're trying to actually, like, accomplish quests and stuff like that, walking around listening to, like, 3-minute long holotapes of a woman talking about boiling water is definitely not going to work for you. So I get it, but again, you can't not experience the lore and then also claim that there is no lore. So that was amazing, hearing Roger Maxon's voice for the first time on a holotape. And that's something too where that drives me crazy about some of the I don't know exactly the way to describe them, because the people that were like, I can't believe they put the Brotherhood of Steel into this game. It's like, because we knew everything about the Brotherhood of Steel. It's like, you didn't know everything about the Brotherhood of Steel. You did not know everything about the Brotherhood of Steel. And so, while, yes, there are people that complain a lot that Bethesda puts the Brotherhood of Steel in every Fallout game they make, I get it. And they also don't like the fact that they decided to do that here in Fallout 76. But you absolutely can have the Brotherhood of Steel make canonical lore sense with Fallout 76 as well. A couple of videos back, I think it was Edwin Colazo, one of the viewers, suggested that I make a video about, you know, it's like all the lore breaking or whatever, like a tongue-in-cheek sort of a thing. And I do think that is something I'm going to do at some point in the future talk about like it's like, oh, they ruined it because they put stuff in here that didn't go with my headcanon. But yeah, because it's like we originally are introduced to the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 1 years after the bombs. So, yeah. I do like that. Brotherhood of Steel in every Fallout game the same way Princess Zelda's in every Zelda game. Like, I don't think it's necessary that you have to have the Brotherhood of Steel in a Fallout game to make it a Fallout game, but at the same time, it's such an interesting organization, especially when you consider the different variants of it that have existed over the years. We're talking, like, even within Fallout 76, we experienced basically 2 variants of the Brotherhood of Steel. And that was even before the arrival of Paladin Romani's group. Flatwoods is a great town. I don't know about y'all, but it was such a great feeling the first time. And I get this with every game, where the very first time I play the game, it's like, oh my god, I gotta explore everything. And so, like, walking into Flatwoods for the first time and finding the church and finding the bodies on the old stretchers in here, finding the notes next to them where it was commenting on like what was wrong with them and stuff like that. Such cool stuff. What else? I feel like I was in the middle of a thought there and I kind of lost track of it. But yeah, it's absolutely... Oh yeah, different variants of the Brotherhood of Steel. Because like Fallout 3, you've even got 2 organizations, Lions Brotherhood of Steel and the Brotherhood Outcasts, that are both, in my view, legitimate versions of the Brotherhood of Steel, because they've, and we know this from 76, they've always had a struggle between their mission of protecting people and preserving technology. And like even before the arrival of Paladin Romani's group, you had the struggle between these 2 ideals, to where it's like Roger Maxson initially seems to have been much more pro protecting people and preserving technology, and then it was only around the date of the battle for Huntersville that he shifted everything over to preservation of technology. And even by the end of the connection between the California Brotherhood of Steel and the Appalachian Brotherhood of Steel, he was clearly frustrated with people for not wanting to deal with outsiders. He felt that the organization was becoming far too insular. Yeah, Splinter Faction in Fallout 1. I have not played enough Fallout 1 to corroborate that, but I would love to. At some point, I'm going to have to go through Fallout 1 thoroughly. The problem is, like, it's not a game that films all that easily. It's not a game that's easy to film in terms of, like getting events in Fallout 3, it's like, save, go in here. Now I can manipulate the camera, go to whatever angle I need to get to, all that stuff. There's definitely an issue with that in Fallout 76, but I've been helped out a lot by the fact that you have the in-game photo mode. Like, this is excellent for filming, because I go in here, and I really do need to create like a macro for this at some point in the future, but I go in here, turn the strength of the depth of field all the way down. I initially would turn it off. I don't do that anymore, because you do get some really crappy textures on things like that. That watchtower up there is actually not bad, but a lot of distant trees and stuff will look terrible without depth of field on. So I leave that on, turn up the distance, turn up the range, and then I'm ready to take a shot of something that's going on in Fallout 76. This has definitely made things, filming things much easier, because without it, it would literally just be from the perspective of my character. And so I would also constantly have to be turning off the UI and stuff like that, which is its own pain in the ass thing you have to do in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 whenever filming, but it's not that big a deal. But yeah, there are so many different variations of the Brotherhood of Steel over the years, trying to claim like, oh no, they could never have been anything else before what they were in Fallout 1. It's like, they were a completely different organization years later. And then you look at like Fallout 3 versus Fallout 4. Again, we're talking about 2 completely different versions of this. And we're talking about within 5 years, 10 years of each other. That's 5 years, isn't it? Ten years. In between Fallout 3 and 4. But yeah. So, it's ridiculous to say that the Fallout 3, or sorry, the Brotherhood in Fallout 76 could in no way be canon. So anyway, though, if anybody has anything else, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark here. So I'll probably be closing things out here pretty soon. Again, Monday, look for the next Settlers of Foundation video. I'm actually pretty happy with how that script is coming together on the inoculation. Along with that, I'm putting together a video, one of my other Great Games videos on the game V Rising. So I'll put that out here before too long. It's a game that's in early access. Could change a lot before it comes out, and it could be something unrecognizable by the time it happens. You know, you never know what's going to happen with early access. But from what I've been seeing from Stunlock, they seem to know a lot. They seem to be doing pretty well. So, do the Brotherhood know about aliens? It's hard to say. The problem is I have not thoroughly investigated the Brotherhood in Fallout 3 and 4. I only know what I remember from the gameplay in Fallout 3 and 4, not from... I've not done thorough enough investigations of their groups. I would not be surprised to find something about like Father Elijah in Fallout New Vegas, where he knows something about the crashed ships. I don't know. I would not be surprised to find something there, but there's nothing that stands out in my mind. But again, that doesn't mean that there's not anything there. I'll have to look more into that. Well, I would say my main problem with my channel is that I have not been regular enough with the production of lore videos. Like in terms of putting them out with enough regularity. I'm hoping to put that together more. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because in terms of growth, I looked at this the other day. Let me check it real quick. So I'm up to 5,400. What is it exactly that I'm up to now? And subscribers. Yeah, 5,430. So the other day when I was producing that channel update, I went into my previous scripts that I had produced for channel updates. And so, yeah, I have since last October doubled my subscriber count, which is great. It's kind of crazy because like my last channel update was October 22nd, 2022. And that was for 2,600 people. And now, as of August 20th, it's now up to 50. That was up to 5,300 plus. It was at that point something like 5,375 or something like that. I somehow missed the 5,000 mark to make a big deal about that. But I don't know. I feel like until I get to like a real major milestone to something like 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, something like that, I'm just going to make channel updates when I feel like it makes sense rather than just being like, hey, it's the 5,500 subscriber update, guys. So, yeah, my hope is that with producing these things more, I'll be getting the channel to grow some more. And who knows what happens with the Starfield content, because it's one of those things too where it's like I will say that my channel is about 60% based in Fallout 76 at this point, because I typically cover Fallout 76, Fallout 3, Fallout 76, Fallout 4. Oh, apparently my brother and mother are watching the stream right now. But yeah, Fallout 76, Fallout 3, Fallout 76, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Fallout New Vegas. So it's basically a 76 and then one of the other videos, you know? And the thing about 76 is, well, I think that 76 has great lore to it. The problem is that I feel like the community that specifically watches stuff on 76 is smaller than the community at large, obviously. But my hope is that when I start putting out lore content on Starfield, when Starfield is looking to be one of the biggest games in the world as of September, it could be that it does great things for the channel. I would hope that would be the case. And that potentially people that see a video that I produce on Starfield will be like, hey, what's this? What else this guy got? And so they come by and see something like 60 lore videos I've produced on Fallout 76, the dozen lore videos I've produced on Fallout 4. And I'm really looking forward to putting out more of those videos. And so I got to figure out too how I'm going to do that, because With the production schedule typically having been 76.3, 76.4, 76 New Vegas, like that. How do I do that when I'm producing episodic content right now, where I'm producing basically 10-minute videos at a time that'll take a course of like 8 weeks or something like that? The question is, do I stop halfway through, produce a lore video on Fallout 3, and then come back? In this case, it would be... What is it the next one going to be on? Let me check the Discord real quick. If you have not joined my Discord, go ahead and do that. It's a great way to vote on the next lore video at the very least, but we also do discuss the lore that's going on in the game. Let's see. The next lore video currently tied between Fallout 3's What Happened to the Metro and Fallout 4 What Happened to Hallucinogen. Either one of those are things I'm really excited to cover because for two reasons. Hallucinogen is an interesting organization. I definitely want to cover them, and that pushes me along the road to getting ready to cover the Gunners. But for covering the Metro, like the Metro has always been this like crazy puzzle box for me ever since '08, where it's like, okay, I got to get to Vernon Square. Which tunnel do I take out of this rat's nest of tunnels and tubes underlying DC? Let's see. Oh, I've had a lot of fun with Project Zomboid. The thing about Project Zomboid right now, I am waiting until they release the NPC patch. And specifically, we're talking animals, I think, initially. I don't know if it's also coming with people. I think it might be people and animals. But regardless, it's one of those things where it's like, anytime I play Project Zomboid, I'm like, what am I doing? Because I like... It feels like I'm playing like 90% of a game when knowing that they're just about to, at some point here, and again, I don't know when they're just about to do it, but when they release, Project Zomboid, when they release the NPC patch for that, it's going to be really interesting to actually be able to go out and like get animals. Cause I don't know if y'all are all that aware with Project Zomboid stuff, but what they've been saying that they're planning to do with it is that they're going to get to the point where it's basically like a medieval sim. So the initial part's always going to be the world is collapsing from the zombie outbreak, but that doesn't go on forever. Their goal with it in the end, at least from what I've read, is like you get to a certain point and it's like, okay, we got to start rebuilding a society here. And so you start actually like setting up like a blacksmithy and stuff like that. And you start making armor and weapons that you can make by scavenging stuff from the local environment. You start building farms, animal husbandry, all kinds of stuff like that. So that is going to be interesting stuff to see. Metro would be good to do. Yeah, because I've been to the Washington, D.C. Metro 3 times in my life. Once when I was a very small child. Twice more as an adult. And in both cases, in both of the adult cases, I was aware of the Metro from Fallout 3, and so I was amazed at how well they had captured the environment. And so, obviously they had done that well because they live in the DC area, and they'd just gone in and actually taken photos of it. So, Kentucky Fried Republic. Yeah. That'll be interesting to see that kind of stuff. I hope we'll see some stuff set in Kentucky, I mean. So. Yeah, because right now, though, again, the vote between Metro and Hallucinogen is tied. We'll see what happens with that going forward. But, yeah, so, okay. Doors closing. Ding dong. Okay. So it has been a little over an hour now. If anybody has any more questions, I'll cover those over the next... let's say we close things out here by 7:30 at the latest here, and that's 7:30 Central Time, so another 9 minutes. But if we run out of questions to answer, then I'll just close things out when that time comes. But anybody have anything else they want to talk about? I am, again, really looking forward to seeing this stuff on Starfield coming up. I'm always holding out hope, because I've been seeing people that have been getting codes since the initial release that Bethesda put out, and I'm just like... I'm still checking Keymailer every day where I'm just like, come on. Unfortunately, I still have not gotten one, but I'm always still holding out hope that I'll get one of those before the actual time is up and we get to August 31st. Favorite faction in any game? That's hard to say, because I will say that I think my favorite factions are in Fallout 76, because I feel like we got so much in-depth lore about them. especially, and also you can even say the Brotherhood of Steel is in 76. So if we're talking about the Brotherhood of Steel as a whole being in all the games, so there are a lot of really interesting factions in every game. I think the Institute in Fallout 4 is a really interesting group. Remains of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology or Commonwealth Institute of Technology, obviously in game, growing up over 200 years underground and becoming this disturbing threat that people see. That I'm looking forward to streaming Starfield as well. Sons of Dane lore, yeah. And that's one of those things where it's like I've been trying to reacquaint myself with. So again, sorry, factions real quick. I think Fallout 76 has my favorite factions, and I think the Free States are my favorite faction within Fallout 76. So I'll say that. The Responders are also a really good faction here as well. But okay, Sons of Dane. I've been trying to acquaint myself with. I don't know if the way to put it is getting cultured, but I've been watching the original series of Star Trek on Paramount Plus lately because I never saw it when I was a kid. I never saw it growing up. I've been trying to watch that stuff and learn about that part of the culture. Along with that, I've been listening to a complete works of H.P. Lovecraft and trying to learn about that as well. At some point, I need to get into the actual classics. And so we're talking about things like Beowulf and stuff like that, which is the base of the Sons of Dane. I want to see more of that stuff because like that. The Sons of Dane compound is obviously a reference to Beowulf, and I know that not even knowing enough about Beowulf to be able to say that. So why don't you go up there real quick? But yeah, I mean, we're talking about these guys in this meat hall, that are dealing with this monster that's coming in. That's Grindel. But I need to actually read or listen to, more likely, Beowulf, because I've been really enjoying audiobooks because I can get other stuff done while I'm listening to it. Again, with H.P. Lovecraft, At the Mountains of Madness, amazing. I love that book. And so the Curious Case of Charles Dexter Ward gets really, really obvious towards the end, where it seems like he's like still trying to like maintain suspense. But it's like, okay, it's clear that this is not actually Charles Dexter Ward. It's his ancestor that has stolen his his place in existence because the two of them look too close together. And he was this character from the Salem witch trial that managed to escape and be resurrected by his grandson. Like, it's obviously clear. Like, it's like, oh, this portrait of this old man from colonial times that had this strange scar over his eye. And now there's the grandson that looks exactly like him but without the scar over the eye. Now, for some reason, his grandson has the scar over the eye. It's like, it's because it's clearly his ancestor. It's not him. Like, you saw the portrait of the ancestor that had the scar and you were marked on the fact that they looked so similar except for the scar over the eye. It's gotta be so freaking obvious. But yeah, the Sons of Dane compound here. I need to actually read or listen to Beowulf, and because I've also even read science fiction based on Beowulf, again, but have not read Beowulf itself. It's got to be something that I actually familiarize myself with at some point soon. So that's definitely got to be something I do. What else about this? I was going over my old content from the Fallout 76 beta recently because we're coming up on 5 years since the launch of Fallout 76. And so I was like looking and I was realizing the actual path I took. So I left Vault 76. I went east to Vault-Tec University here in Morgantown. I then headed down here to Monongah Power Plant. I restored the power plant, went up into the hills, and came down to what at the time was the Atlas Observatory. So I've got pictures of the old Atlas Observatory inside of it and stuff like that. And then I ended up heading down. Do you have access to pictures in here, don't you? I can't remember. Photo gallery, yeah. Ah! Yes. There's, during the beta. This I thought was just kind of strikingly creepy scene where you've got this area up near Monongah. A rad storm that struck when I was up near where the metal dome is now. There's the Atlas Observatory. Outside. Inside. Obviously different now. I loved this grave that I found here. this strange situation that used to exist near Flatwoods. I don't think it does anymore. So yeah. But anyway, again, we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary, so it's always interesting to go back and see that kind of stuff. So, okay, so one more thing I forgot to mention about this stuff, about first year Fallout 76. Like, I don't think people realize that the White Spring was constantly being nuked, just around the clock. There was always a nuke zone around the White Spring because people were trying to get all the mutated flora to produce the flux that they needed to make interesting stuff for their camps. Let's see, 76 because of the bad reviews. Yeah, that's the thing. That was part of the reason why I started making videos about 76 was like, there's a lot of good stuff here. There's definitely problems. I had constant technical problems, even when I was trying to make videos on the game where I'm like walking along this highway in the mire. And it's just like, no enemies loading because the game doesn't even realize I'm there. So obviously it had problems, but there was such a great foundation here to work with. Mama Dolce said, yeah, it'd be really interesting if you could join like the remnant communist Chinese under Mama Dolce's. Of course, they were all killed by the time we got out anyway. But if we're talking also about the remnant communist Chinese under the White Spring, it would be really interesting because we know that there are currently active cells of communist spies within the wasteland here in Fallout 76's timeline. So it would be really interesting if we could even just join them to like find out what's going on there. 13th Warrior, loose riff on Beowulf. I'll have to look into that. All right, anybody have any additional comments or questions? It's one of those things where it's like, again, when I talk about the classics, it's like, yeah, I've read the Iliad, but I don't remember most of it. I've read part of the Odyssey. I don't think I read the entire thing. And so it's like, I need to go back and reacquaint myself with all these things. And again, that's what I've been trying to do with Lovecraft. So, thank you. All right, y'all. With nothing else, I will say I will see you all next Friday. Again, look for the next lore video on Monday. And again, the Other Great Games video covering V Rising sometime next week as well. So, good to see you all. Patty, Lot of Mercy, Kier, and Arian Bryant. Apologize for that. I will see you all next time. Have a great weekend, y'all.